How's everybody doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kent, and the channel is Yas San Diego. And I want to talk a little bit tonight about Wall Street, because you got the Wall Street bet boys that are taking on Wall Street. They're taking on the hedge funds. They're taking on the big money boys. And how you doing, Manny?
Just in case, got my flashlight.
Okay, thanks, Manny. Appreciate your help. Yeah. So yeah, you got the Wall Street bet boys that are taking on the big money boys, and it's kind of getting to be an interesting, what would you say? An interesting game going on between these two. And I actually think that Wall Street is pretty much finished. And basically the reason I think that is because they're starting to decentralize the investing of the people are tired of the money manipulation. They're tired of the hedge funds that are shorting companies to the point that they overshort a company, actually short more than the float, to the point where they know that if they buy the stock, that they're going to force what they call a short squeeze, which forces the hedge funds to buy back in and get the price at that, a higher price. And actually, if Robinhood, the app that everybody uses to buy these stocks that they use on Reddit, Wall Street Bets, to buy, hadn't stepped in, we don't even know how much they would have gotten wrecked, but they would have gotten really, really super wrecked. But anyway, this is the beginning, I think, of a long situation that's going to happen, and the consequences of this are enormous. If you watched my channel before, you probably know I was at one time a stockbroker. I was a stockbroker through the 1980s in Denver, Colorado. Have you ever watched the movie The Wolves of Wall Street? It was somewhat similar to the times that I had, probably a little bit like Hollywood. Made it a little bit, a little bit over the top, but there was a lot of that stuff going on. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a young broker, there was a guy there by the name of Joe. Actually, his name was Joe Ross. And he was doing incredible numbers. This is in the early 1980s, and he was doing something like $100,000 a month in commissions. And of course, $100,000 a month in commissions back in the 1980s probably would be like $600,000 in commissions in today's money. But anyway, this guy was the number one broker in the office, and of course, they would post the commissions so everybody could see what everybody else was doing, kind of to get everybody motivated. Say, hey, someone's doing this amount of money, and somebody else is doing this amount of money. Well, anyway, Joe was doing between $80,000 and $100,000 a month in commissions, and of course, we were all just in awe of Joe Ross, the guy that was doing, millions of dollars a year in commissions. Well, anyway, of course, the firm loved Joe and decided to have a little party for Joe for all the commissions that he had generated. And as a young broker, I'm sitting there with my buddy that I took the Series 7 with, the Series 63, and then we were starting out, and we were getting started, and we were trying to figure out the business, trying to figure out how everything worked, and really thinking everything was pretty up front, and everything was pretty by the book. But anyway, when they had the party for Joe, we noticed that Joe's wife did not look very happy. And not only did Joe's wife not look very happy, Joe's wife did not drive up in a very nice car. For a guy who was making over $1 million a year in commissions, Joe's wife was driving a really bad car. I can't remember what it was, but it was a very, very bad car. She showed up, not dressed very well, and in a very, very bad mood. Now, if you would have thought that your husband was making $1 million a year in commissions, and they were throwing a party for him at the office, that you'd have been pretty happy about that. Well, she wasn't very happy, and she didn't look very excited for Joe and the big party that they were throwing him. So, as we found out later, what Joe was doing is Joe was taking stock out of inventory, writing tickets to clients, and then as soon as those date when it had to clear, Joe would just transfer it to another account and another account and another account. And basically what he was doing, he was keeping the stock out of inventory, making it look like it had been purchased, but it never got paid for, while in the meantime driving the stock price up so that the people that held the stock were benefiting by the fact that there was stock that was out there that was never being cleared, but was not in inventory, making it look like it had been purchased, driving the price higher. This kind of stuff has been going on forever. And of course, 1985, you had a lot of the stuff going on with the well, I can't even think what I'm thinking. not day trading, but you had more or less people that were doing the same thing as Joe was doing, except they were doing it computer. They were doing it by computer. They were doing trading by computer. So in other words, they would buy stock before the stock would be actually transacted, or before the conclusion of the past the date when the stock was being paid for. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Gosh, what was it? I can't. High volume trading. That's what I was thinking. High volume trading. They were doing computerized high volume trading. They were doing trading by computer. So these days of high volume trading, where you would have a computer program developed, where the computer program would go out and purchase stock. Maybe a bot would purchase a stock. The stock would never get paid for, but it would drive the price up. And then, of course, if you own the stock, you would be holding the stock. The price would go up. You would make the money, and then, of course, when it never cleared, stock would come back down, and of course, you were the beneficiary. And of course, what happens in situations like that is usually the Feds look you up if you're making too much money doing that kind of stuff. So this kind of game stuff has been going on forever. But now you have decentralized investing by individuals, and that is not what I'm talking about, which is basically what I'm talking about is something that is illegitimate and illegal. What they're doing today is they're actually forming in social media on Reddit, and then they're running around looking for these positions where they're overshorted, and then they're buying the stock, creating a situation where the hedge funds have to come back in and cover the shorts, which could drive the price to infinite levels. I mean, prices can't go below zero, but they can go to infinity if you have enough people buying the stock and they've got to cover their shorts. This game of hedge funds is over with. It's always interesting to me that whenever I see a billionaire guy and you look on Wikipedia and figure out how he made his money, it's generally because he was in a hedge fund. So the hedge fund idea of being able to get money together, short a company, and use the wealth of some very, very wealthy individuals to drive prices down so you can take advantage of a stock, those days may be over with. And in the process of those days being over with, the Wall Street game may be over with, because all Wall Street is a game. As I've said on this channel many times, the stock trades independent of the company. So a company can be doing very, very, very well, but the stock could be doing poorly. Or the stock could be doing very, very well, and the company doing very, very poorly. So the relationship is only in terms of the value. And of course, the value could have a lot of potential built into it, like Amazon. Amazon has a lot of blue sky built into it because everybody sees what's happening. They see that Main Street businesses are shutting down, so people are going online to buy. Amazon obviously has the infrastructure in place to deliver products to people very well, very fast. So it's trading well above actual earnings or what the potential Amazon is. And as the Wall Street bet guys can buy up short stocks, they can also drive up the price of stocks that they really like Tesla. Obviously, Tesla is trading at incredible potential, incredible numbers based on what the actual company is doing. There's no relationship. I mean, there's a relationship, and the only relationship is the value people are willing to place on it. So this is kind of a disconnect between the actual speculation on a company and what the company is actually doing. And of course, now with machine learning, and of course bots are very simple scripts, but with machine learning, machine learning can actually go out there and figure out which companies are overshorted and then buy into those companies, creating short squeezes and using people's accounts to do that. So this is what's going on. So you could literally, the reality of the situation is that so many people's entire retirement accounts are invested in stocks. The stock market is going crazy right now, and I can understand why it's going crazy right now, because these hedge funds, which do play a role of keeping the market in somewhat of a range of trading. So if there's nobody shorting the stock and the stock just goes up, and everybody just keeps buying up because the stock keeps making the money, and the stock goes to an amount that has no relationship to the actual business, or ever will have a relationship to what the actual business is worth, you don't have anybody there to counteract that. And if you don't have anybody there to counteract that, because they're all scared, because if they get on the wrong side of the Wall Street bet guys, and they got 3 million accounts that are buying the stock when they're shorting the stock, they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble. So no longer all these, the social media and the decentralization of investing is changing the landscape, and it's making Wall Street obsolete. And that is something to be concerned about, because everybody's potentially 401ks and retirement accounts and all these different things are in a threat right now, especially, like I say, with the advent of machine learning and the ability for social media to accumulate a lot of accounts together and everybody go one direction or another, and counter the formerly centralized hedge funds, the money people, the concentration of wealth that people have been using in the past in order to control and manipulate markets and make money. So this is really something kind of interesting. The same thing happens in cryptocurrency. You could have, everything the same way in cryptocurrency. You can have bots, you can have, trading bots. And I always say that a lot of crypto, when you look at the volume, you don't know where the volume's coming from, because, it could be from any place. But the decentralized investing is getting to be a very, very big thing. Decentralized, and that's the one thing I do like. And of course, that's why I think that decentralized investing and why crypto works so much better with decentralized investing as opposed to centralized investing, which is what is going on with the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ and these different stock exchanges. So anyway, this is a very interesting thing that people are going to start facing here very quickly. So, and I do think that the safe haven, to me, is Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin has a very low amount of available inventory. I mean, you got 21 million, probably a lot of those have been lost. We don't even know how much is left. You actually have a real world work input, which is electricity, in order to solve the problems of the algorithm. You got the algorithm that's in play. You got the blockchain that records all the transactions. So a lot of this is protected through the protocol of Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin has withstood the test of time. And that's why I think that the cryptocurrencies are probably going to absorb a lot of the Wall Street money, because right now, high volume trading, machine learning, and social media and Wall Street bet kind of people are going to make anything in Wall Street very, very speculative. They could drive down literally the price of anything or drive up the price of anything, because there's no relationship between it. And there's nothing to stop it. There's not, like I say, if Robinhood hadn't decided to capitulate and give in and stop it, it could have gone to, a GameStop could have gone to infinity. Who knows how high it could have gone? It could have gone out of this world. So this is a very interesting time. And of course, there's as I believe, there's safe havens. Safe haven would be Bitcoin. I think there's a few others that are very good. I get people giving me a hard time all the time about all the other stuff out there that's running. Of course, the one limitation to Bitcoin is speed. The other limitation to Bitcoin is that it's not a smart contract platform, but it's a store of value, and I think it's probably the best store of value there is right now, given the fact that you do have Wall Street in a quandary right now, and you do have something like Wall Street bets that could drive any stock up or any stock down. And of course, there'll be others. There'll be other Reddit forum groups other than Wall Street bets. There'll be other people that are going to do this, because this is a way for decentralized investing to fight back against the centralized hedge fund billionaires that have been wrecking companies for years and years and years and years. And that leads me to another point. I was watching one of the 60-minute segments the other night, and I was watching Bill Gates, who now is on climate control. He didn't even say a word. I think it was pretty recent that he had this interview. They didn't say a word about COVID, but he was talking about climate control. And of course, his idea is we go to zero carbon footprint. So literally everybody should not produce any carbon footprint. But he admitted that he probably has the biggest carbon footprint of anybody in the world because of his lifestyle. He flies everything, any private jet anywhere in the world that he wants to go. And of course, he lives in massive houses and does everything he wants to do. So he is the absolute epitome of hypocrisy. He doesn't want anybody else to have a footprint, but he's going to have a massive footprint. So as I listen to this, and of course he sounds really bad. I mean, the guy is just really kind of like, he's kind of like the poster boy for everything that's been wrong for the last 30 years. as far as greed, excess, and now having the proclamations of how the world should be run, and being the person that thinks that he is the smartest person in the world, that tells everybody how they should live and how the world should run and operate. This is what people are rebelling against, and this is why the Wall Street bet people are rebelling, and this is why they're going after the hedge funds, and some of them didn't even care if they lose money. They just wanted to bring these people down, and this is what's going on. So you have the decentralized world starting to come alive, and you have the people that are starting to form together in social media, the people that are starting to realize that there's power if they decentralize themselves and they form a group that can actually fight the power structures. And I think that's a lot to do with Bitcoin, has a lot to do with cryptocurrencies, has a lot to do with smart contracts, and decentralizing a lot of things that have been wrong with our and I could go into everything. I mean, I could go into banking, I could go into law, I could go into insurance, I could go into everything that's been centralized and has been set up in a way to really take advantage of the ability for certain people and certain groups to take control and to be able to really, ruin other people. And that's been happening for a long, long time. And of course, Wall Street Bets and some of these other people, and of course a person like Elon Musk, even though he is one of the insiders and he has a lot of money, he talks against him. Everybody, that's why he's kind of a cult here. That's why him buying Bitcoin is such a big deal. That's why I drove up the price so much. So anyway, watch this thing, because I think Wall Street is basically wrecked after the GameStop and some of the other stuff going on. And this is a very volatile situation. So if you own stocks right now, very, very careful. Be very, very careful, because there could be a lot of things happen in the future that could just totally destroy companies. And of course, if we don't have the equity market where people can go to the market to raise money to create ideas through the public equity by selling pieces of the company through initial public offering, an IPO. I mean, that does away with a lot of innovation. So that's how people raise money to build things. That's how companies raise money to do things. So if that goes away because of people like Wall Street Bet, where do they go to raise money? What do they do? How does that operate? And then if you don't have the hedge funds offsetting some of the stocks that are rising in value too much, how does that affect? Everything just goes to prices that are unsustainable, and then it becomes really crazy. I think you're going to see some wild stuff here in the very near future. And the one thing I do see is I see incredible amounts of money that are going to be coming in. So all of a sudden, everything's going to get a lot more expensive. And if you don't find a way to keep up to that level of expense that everything's going to go to, the level of how much everything's going to cost because of these activities that are taking place, you will have a hard time surviving. So you'll have to find a place to put your money so it grows faster than all the speculation that's all around us all day long, every day right now, and it's growing and it's very profitable. So when you see things that are this profitable, you will see it continue to happen in greater ways and by more people. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.